Welcome to the Centennial panel, Sustaining Our Earth's Ecosystem. This will be the fourth and final open forum on critical issues of our times. We've had a year-long celebration of the 100 years of Harvard University Extension School. The convocation ceremonies were in October, where we heard wonderful, moving presentations by several alumni whose lives were transformed by the Extension School experience. And we're fortunate to have another story of that type from one of the panel members who also took courses at Harvard Extension School, Mark Plockton. At that convocation, we heard a wonderful presentation from our president, Drew Faust, talking about the history of extension schools. They started in England in the late 1800s, and the extension programs were first established in the United States by Harvard University President Abbott Lawrence Lowell in 1910, 100 years ago. And a premise that he set forth and why there should be an extension school as a part of Harvard University was that he says it's the duty of every institution of higher learning in the country to use its resources in the benefit of the surrounding community. The Lowell family continues to be a benefactor of Harvard Extension. We have the Lowell Lecture Series every year. We have the Lowell Scholars, right? The high school students that are allowed to take our courses and get introduced to the various offerings at a university level. As Harvard's reputation for scholarship and influence grew in the world, so did the concept of surrounding community. And the Extension School, more than 10 years ago now, embraced the new technology that shared the Harvard educational experience more fully with the world. 20% of our courses are online. Of the 20,000 students that take our courses on an annual basis, 1 in 3 are taking courses online. With Dean Schnegel's backing and the technical guidance and support of Henry Leitner and Len Evanchik, the course on environmental management that I teach with George Buckley was one of the first to go online in 1999. And this really now demonstrates that how, with distance education, we have a new definition of community. Photons flow both ways, and we made full use of that. We had our students from 5 continents contributing and enriching our classroom experience here on campus. We had stories about their communities, from designing eco-lodges in Rwanda to water treatment systems in Beijing, organic waste collection in Taipei City, environmental consequences of floodings in the Philippines. One of our students was an officer in the Army and was sent on an aid mission to the Philippines and then to Southeast Asia when the tidal waves broke across the landscape in the Southeast Asia. And we learned about renewable energies from Europe. So President Lowell could not, I think, have imagined what has transpired, but I think he fully realized and understood the power of inspiration. And I have this year have been dedicating my public appearances to 2 people that passed away very recently. One that has been a tremendous influence on me. This is my father, Ken Spengler, who served in World War II as a young cadet, was sent in the first class to MIT to be trained in meteorology, and then went back to the Pentagon and worked on long-range forecasting at the time, which you know how important this was to the European theater and the forecasting of the D-Day invasion. But after that, he was recruited by a small little academic organization called the American Meteorological Society, which includes oceanographers and meteorologists. And this was a fledgling little organization. He came up to Boston, made its headquarters at 45 Beacon Street, which is on the Freedom Trail. So it's open to the public. You can visit this historic building in downtown Boston. And at the time of his funeral and the wake, he had we just had an outpouring of so many people whose careers were influenced by what he did for them and how he encouraged them in the field of science, and particularly the field of meteorology and oceanography. And I felt immediate kinship with all of those people because we knew he was a great dad, but he was just a great guiding person. And we lost another person from World War II just recently, and this is Stuart Udall. As a young man, he was a fighter pilot, a bombardier, I think, in Italy. And after the war, he was a lawyer. He went back to law school, got his law degree, and became a young congressman from Arizona, and was recognized for his talent by President Kennedy and Johnson, and became the Interior Secretary. And I celebrate his life because he understood what conservation meant. And it was under his guidance of the Interior Department, they added national parks. They added national seashores that didn't exist. We need conservation people like this. The Cape Cod National Seashore was added under his watch. So I am personally connected to him because he actually married my daughter and to his nephew, Seth Cohen, out in Abiquiu, New Mexico, in a beautiful part of the country. But we miss Stuart and, of course, my dad. Well, I started a course on air pollution at the school, extension school, and it was about the time I joined the faculty of Harvard in the early 70s, in fact. So I guess I've been involved for about a third of the 100 years of the extension school. And we saw the possibilities that this could be a very influential place to be. And at the time, we were doing air pollution health studies, looking at the effects of air pollution on retarding lung development in young children, and looking at the effects of accelerated lung decay or lung growth losses in adults that eventually led to cardiovascular and pulmonary mortality. And what we recognized is the country needed an educated population that understood what the environmental issues were. And we needed young professionals that would dedicate their careers to these areas of environmental science and environmental management. So one of the communities that we were studying at the time was Watertown, Massachusetts, just next door here to Cambridge. And George Buckley, who I knew in high school when he was 15 years old, now I found him again teaching science and biology at the Watertown High School. And I became acquainted with his work on ocean coral research in Bonaire, his work as a marine biologist at Pleasant Bay in Cape Cod, and his membership in the Sea Rovers. And the Sea Rovers were an elite group of marine scientists and scuba divers. And the Sea Rovers, I believe, were founded in part by Jacques Cousteau, who is the grandfather of one of our guests here, Alexandra. So that's a connection that we have, Alexandra. And so we went on to do air pollution and water pollution and oceans. And then with the encouragement of Dean Schneegel and others and a dedicated faculty, many of which are here, I ran into Kazi and Tim Weiskell and Bill Mumal and Molly Kyle and Nathan Guthier, and who else is here? Jennifer Clifford. And many others are our faculty that have gone on to embrace the same kind of enthusiasm for teaching to young professionals through the Harvard Extension School. So today we have 20-something courses, thousands of students taking these courses, 250 enrolled in our degree programs. And I think this has made us rethink what communities are and what is Harvard's real role in using its resources to benefit communities. Because I think we realize that CO2 released anywhere has impacts everywhere. And I think we understand that mercury released from coal-fired power plants in North America find their way to the mothers in the Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic. And we know that molecules of synthetic organics from plastics and other flame retardants, are shared now from plankton to polar bears. So what is local community? And what is our role and responsibilities in that regard? So as the debate rages over climate change and greenhouse gas reductions and cap and trade and mitigation and adaptation, you know, even if we could reach 450 or keep it less than 550 parts per million CO2, we still have ecosystems in peril. And that's why we have the theme today, sustaining the Earth's ecosystems. And that's why we have assembled a knowledgeable panel and committed panel to present to you today.